Hello and welcome back to World of Tanks, and I will be showing you a replay of the heavy tank Type 95 Heavy. Now, the reason why I'm bringing you this video is because a lot of people that are experienced in World of Tanks like to skip bad tanks. And when I mean bad tanks, I mean a tank that is underwhelming for its tier. It can do some work, as in like it will perform well when it's top tier. But when it is tier 4, not tier 4, when it is in a tier 5 or 6 match where it's either mid or low tier, it is very, very, very hard to do well in it, and this is one of those. Now, the reason why this is, in my opinion, one of the bad tier 4 heavies, I think the German heavy tank, the tier 4 heavy, might actually be worse. Let me double check right now. Now, out of the three, uh, let's see, let me bring this one up too. Now let's compare the stats, right? Now, if you look, oh, I done moved it up. The slowest is the Japanese one. It had the Durchbergwagen, the DW2, has the fewest amount of hit points. It moves the fastest, but here's the thing. This is a heavy tank. Usually in World of Tanks, the trend is that heavy tanks have the most armor. Usually. Now, they're really heavy tanks because of their weight at their tier, right? Now, looking at the hull armor right here, this has the worst hull armor out of all three heavy tanks at tier 4. Its chart armor is also the worst. What also makes it really bad is the fact that, look at its profile. You don't see it here much, but this is the tallest one, meaning this turret will stick out of rocks easier. It's easier to shoot it. It's harder to hide. It's the slowest maneuvering, so you have to commit to one area. And thirdly, there's this tiny little turret in the front part where the gun cannot shoot down past. It can only shoot down. It has good gun depression when it's not aiming where the turret would be underneath the gun when you're rotating it. It has the slow. It has pretty bad turret traverse. I mean the B1's worse, but it's not that bad. The traverse speed is pretty poor too. But what really hinders it the most is top speed and hull armor. Now, here's the thing. With the B1, its armor right here, 60, 60, 55. Because of how the armor is, it's kind of angled here in the front. You have some armor spacing. It's easier to side scrape with because you don't have big tumors to deal with like this big turret. And, the thing is that it's easier to side scrape and to angle the armor because if you can angle the armor, you can turn 60 to about 100, right? If you're angling your armor well. This can only go up to I think around 50. That's pretty bad. Mostly everything can penetrate you, so don't even try. This one, since it's pretty much a square, you can angle it to where it turns into like 75 armor, 75 millimeters of armor. Not taking into account, the amount of space you have between yourself and the enemy. It's not that bad. So this tank's pretty poor. The one thing it may have to compensate for this is the gun. No, that's the wrong tank. So basically the Type 95 Heavy. We're looking at the Type 91, but this is pretty much the same tank, um, appearance-wise. So the gun can aim downwards if it's here. If you have the turret rotated this way, pointing towards you right here, it won't go down below that. It's very flat, very easy to penetrate. So you want to aim to the right, so you have to side script a specific way in order to make it work. And the B1, it's shorter. The turret is nice and curved and everything. It's easier to bounce shots because of its hull armor. This is pretty much the weak spot on this tank. But anyways, back to the Type 95 Heavy. The thing about it that might be a little better, and I mean a little bit. Let's compare the guns. Now, the gun on the B1 and on the DW2 are pretty much the same. They have high rate of fire, bad penetration value, and you have pretty bad damage output. The thing is that it's quick to aim and it's so semi-accurate. The thing is that this fires incredibly fast. Now this gun has a little better penetration, twice as much damage. It's a little less accurate, but you have to aim longer, so you have to sit still longer. The thing about the B1 is that you don't have to sit still long because you can aim pretty well, so you can try to shimmy the tank to try to get people to shoot at a part that's more well armored. You can't with this, and you have to stay still. It's also less accurate. You have to aim longer, so other tanks have a better opportunity of shooting you first if you're sticking your butt out in front, which is the case for heavy tanks. Most heavy tanks you're supposed to stick out in front, and you can take some punishment because you have a chance to bounce these shots. But this tank cannot. So if you were to want to go up this line, save up some free experience so that, because here's the thing, I skipped the tier 2 because it was easy. You only needed about, you didn't need that much experience to get it. You only needed 1,200 research cost. I did that. The Type 3, this was a fun tank. I still have it because it's fun. Now this tank right here, you buy this tank, and you want to get to the OI. For pretty much every tank that jumps from 4 to 5, the research cost goes from, let's say, to get from the 3 to 4, it's 3,800. This one is 14,000. So save up your free experience, buy this tank, play it a few games, you'll see what I mean, that it's pretty bad, and then you get to the OI experimental, which is looks to be pretty fun. It looks like a KV1 successor, or equivalent, sort of. Now, let's get to the fun little replay I have with the tank. Alright, now, let's see. And I'll explain to you what's going on. And here we go. Of course, it's going to be victory. I'm just making sure it's the right one. Yes. So basically, I just wanted to highlight that this is a match where I do well in it, so that I can show you that you can do well, but pretty much only if you're top tier. So this is the replay. Awaiting player's battle starts. Alright, so for instance, looking at the team, I am statistically the best one on my team, by not much. This guy's also trying to rush to the Type 95. There's this guy and these two. Well, there's Nordic Bad Boy, Taifu, and Couch Surfer. These are going to be the 3 to look out for, but I'm not really keeping in mind. I'm in a bad mood, and I just want to get through this tank, because this tank's atrocious. It's pretty bad, I must say. So, looking at this map, heavies tend to go down these alleys in here, because that's where they can use their armor more effectively. Light tanks and medium tanks should try to conquer this area, since they're more mobile and more, well, pretty much because they're mobile. Conquer this area, and then try to shoot shots down this alley to support their heavy tanks there. So I know pretty much that I'm not gonna have the opportunity to, what's it called, use my armor well. So I'm gonna have to really plan out a little bit strategically. So I see that it's a light tank. He's red. You see that red star? That means he's a bad player. Now, sometimes don't underestimate them, but you know, kind of point out that they'll do stupid things. I got him midair. That was pretty nice, nifty little shot. Killed him. That looks could have been problematic since it's a tier 4 light tank with scout matchmaking. Unlike the Valentine, the Valentine is good at tier 4, but the looks is a little better. Now the Matilda has around 75 degrees of armor right there, and so my gun only does 70 degrees of millimeters of penetration, so I have to switch to high explosive anti-tank Now I track him because of how I am angled. Um, he cannot hurt my tank, but I realize I need to shoot aside. He gets a shot at me. I kill him. I switch back to AP, and then I see that the Valentine's right there, so I switch to high explosive anti-tank, and because of his armor, it's 65 or 60, and he was angled a little bit, so I plan to shoot at the Type 95. I know that he has a low amount of armor, so I switch back to armor piercing. The reason why I'll switch to high explosive anti-tank is because it has 100 millimeters of depression. You see how I'm side scraping? The way that I angle my armor is to where if he shoots at me, he's more likely to not penetrate my armor. I am tracked down here. My ammo rack is damaged, so I heal that. I just wait to repair my track. But I decide since the Valentine keeps doing it to me, this is the third time he did it. I think I wait another time. The Type 91's dead, so actually I decide to wait because he can't damage me. He can only track me because of how I'm angled. He's aiming at someone else. Here's the thing most people need to learn is while a tank is aimed at a different opponent, use that to your advantage to damage them. That Type 95's there. I shoot on the move. Whenever you can, try to shoot the move. The cursor is aimed in the wrong place, but I auto aim targeting him, and so that hits, so there's no chance I get him. But in this little time that I had, I took advantage of pretty much every opportunity I had to shoot at the enemy without risking myself too much. You know, I used my armor to its maximum potential, so I blocked. See, no damage, no damage, no damage, ricochet, no damage, no damage. So I was able to bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half the shots that hit me pretty much did not even damage my tank. So that if you notice how I'm angling my armor to where if I poke out, I'm at a very low degree relative to the wall that I'm facing, if that makes sense. So try that and you might do better in the Type 95 Heavy. And as you can see, I did almost twice as much damage as my health, so that is very successful. Try to do that. Always aim to do more damage than what your tank is worth, at least, in order to get a Fire for Effect medal, and it just means that you contributed to your team, because if you do fewer than your hit points, then that means that you died without like an even exchange, so try to do at least more. So I did almost twice as much, so I did a significant chunk, and I did the most damage out of both teams, so that's also an accomplishment. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more.